And welcome back to the Campaign Roundtable. This week we are covering the Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time. I'm Garrett Weinzerl.
I'm Mike Doherty.
And I'm Kyle Ferguson.
And this is, of course, the show where we dive into the depths that is the story of video games. And this is where I would usually introduce the show, but we took a week off, so I screwed it up and already told you what game we're doing. Yes, this week we are doing The Sands of Time, the first proper 3D Prince of Persia, I would argue. I guess there was like a redo of the side scroller, but it was no.
And nobody played that one.
No, not good, not good stuff. So welcome back, guys. Kyle, I'm gonna keep welcome you to shows, saying I'm glad you're not sick anymore. Even though I just welcomed you to a show yesterday, saying that I'm glad you're not sick anymore. But we're glad you're not sick anymore. And Mike and I had a fun time ripping on Microsoft last week.
Yeah, I really missed you. I would have liked the Kyle input on everything we had to talk about last week.
I'm sorry I missed it. You guys had a lot of fun, though, and it was cool to hear your reactions day of.
Yeah, it was good stuff. Well, day after, I guess. Monday was the big conference day, and then we recorded on Tuesday. But, yeah, it was pretty raw. It was a pretty raw gut reaction. Kyle, I tried, man. I tried so hard to be the voice of reason and see both sides. I tried. But Mike was just... He was just the 10-pound bastard hammer. It was hard, dude. It was rough. Anyway, it's good to have the crew back, and I'm excited to talk about this week's game. Before we get into the story, I want to know how everyone experienced playing the actual game, because as Mike and I kind of mused last week, the PC version on Steam is really hit or miss. Now, Kyle, I'm told you had no issues whatsoever playing this game.
No, I mean, other than having to control a third-person camera with a mouse and
oh my God, you played this
with Waseda.
You played this with a mouse and keyboard?
I sure did. Whole thing.
Wow.
How are you not angry?
Well, you do it in small bite-sized chunks.
This game sucks with a mouse and keyboard.
It really
like,
does.
Hard.
There were points where you'd be moving the crank in a circle, and that's all well and good on a joystick, but you'd have to kind of dance between WS, around the circle, down to D.
It's pretty much like you're trying to seduce your keyboard. You're very gently and fluidly moving between the WASD keys.
But originally for me, this was a rental, and it was a single weekend on Xbox.
Ah, wonderful. I don't remember exactly what moved me to get this game. I originally owned it on GameCube. I actually still have it. My Wii is just currently collecting dust, and I didn't feel like breaking it out to play the GameCube version. So I started on the Steam version, hated the mouse and keyboard, and then I finally got my Xbox controller working for it. But anytime the joystick was in the top right diagonal position, the prince would only walk. So once I got to the timed trap hallway runs, it was literally impossible. I couldn't get through it. So I went to Amazon and got myself the PS3 re-release that, dear God, that it plays so much better. I wish I had a way to capture my PlayStation, though. There were so many audio bugs. I wish I could share it with you. I was losing my mind. There was, like, for more than 50% of the game, there was just a click, 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 click in the background for no reason at all. And then when the Beatles were on camera, oh my God, if there was a beetle a mile away from you, it sounded like it was inside your head.
Yeah, I experienced.
Wait, what's
my
that
own
other
bugs.
GameCube game that does all the tricks to make you want to go insane? Eternal Darkness.
Eternal Darkness. Yeah, Eternal Darkness. No, I don't recall any of these issues from the GameCube version, but yeah, the PS3 re-release is definitely impressive. The way they up-res the textures looks nice. The simple models almost makes it just look like a Pixar style once you up-res the textures. So it looked good. They just need to work a little bit on the audio.
Well, you're right about that. I mean, there were some times, particularly the first thing I noticed when you got to the Sultan's security chamber, that guy was screaming your ear off.
Oh God, I couldn't stand him.
That's original. That I distinctly remember that guy from GameCube because he just in your ear.
Yeah.
And why he's in freaking India with a British accent? Could someone explain that?
Why is he alive? That's the thing. Like everyone else is dead. Here's this one inept guard with a horrible British accent.
Yeah.
It's like, my mom made me wear my special magic underwear. It's protect me from any sort of magic that might occur. The only side effect is I can't control the volume of my voice.
Yes, yeah, I don't get it. It sounds like the orcs in that frickin' Space Marine game. It takes me so... It's a great game. That game is fun and uber violent, but the orc voices take me out
They really
so
do.
hard.
Takes more than that to kill an orc.
It's just like, it sounds like Tweedledee and Tweedledum, not a green-skinned killing machine. Man, I don't get it.
Just broke up a bar full of orcs or something.
Yeah. So I guess all that aside, man, I had fun replaying this game, despite the fact that I had to marathon it and had a myriad of issues getting into it originally. But this took me back, man. I was just like, oh my god, I love this game. I really do. So if you're not familiar with the Prince of Persia, this is the Sands of Time specifically. Is basically start off by sieging a innocent city. Because why not?
This game is the only game I can really think of where you're given the opportunity to play as a completely unlikable dick right from the get-go. I mean, his dad is a freaking like genocidal madman, and he gets to just be like number two like the entire time. And I just don't feel like any connection to him whatsoever. And he does eventually, way down the line, get to be less dickish. But it's...
Wow.
I'll give you that. But also, I mean, think about the time where it's set. This kind of shit happened. You took over cities just because. And
Oh, I know. I mean, that's totally what they're banking on. But at the same time, it's just like... I still don't like it.
Yeah, and as we go through the game, there's a lot of instances where the prince talks to himself, and he is overtly sexist.
Yeah, like the misogyny and the whiny, self-interested.
Yeah. But the way Ubisoft handles it is so obviously satire.
Yeah.
Like you can tell, like they're making fun of this particular portion of history and how men and warriors and loaded sons of kings thought.
Sure, when he's talking about, marrying a spirited woman and squashing her insolence, it gets the point across.
Yeah, slavery didn't seem to do it so far.
Yeah, exactly. So, I don't know. The game, I'm going to make so many references to Aladdin during this show, I think. I'm going to, because the similarities are there's so many of them.
I mean, you have an evil vizier who's, if they didn't put eyes on the snake staff, it's a snake staff.
It's a snake staff. He's wearing a purple and red robe. They should have just named him not Jafar, because that's what I refer to him as. That's what I referred to him back when I originally played this, and that's still what I think. But yeah.
Well, there was some time in between, so it's not like it's infused in the creators' minds.
Oh no, there was a lot of time between this. And when
Aladdin came out in 1992, and this came out in 2003.
Yeah, exactly. All right, which one of you got into the notes and found all this awesome trivia?
That would be me.
Oh, thank you, Mike. So, Mike, you went in and found some trivia to start the show off with about the Prince of Persia, and apparently the source code for the original Prince of Persia was just recently found by the original creator last year.
Yeah, in his dad's house, like in a box. It was just on a floppy disk, just kind of chilling.
Holy crap.
Yeah. Apparently his dad was actually the person who made the music for the first game.
Oh.
Just keeping it in the family.
All right. Did either of you ever play the original side-scrolling Prince of Persia?
No, I did not. Didn't have an Apple II.
No, I've seen tons of GIFs of it over the time. I mean, it looks like a blind guy or a blonde guy running around in his pajamas. More
or less. I distinctly remember playing it at least twice over at a buddy's house, and thinking it was super hard, but also cool because it was violent. And this was before Mortal Kombat, so I was young, and anything with blood was cool. So that's pretty much what it boiled down to. But yeah, and with my limited experience with the original Prince of Persia, I'm surprised how all the wonderful little nods and winks to it they have with all the traps and stuff.
Yeah. I kind of wish I had played a little bit of it just to see what they carried over.
Yeah.
Like maybe some of the Prince's more funky-looking fighting moves might have been some of the stuff they carried over for old time's sake.
What do you mean specifically?
He's got like that one upward swing he does where it kind of looks like he's just golfing with a sword. That always kind of struck me as weird.
Or the really fast spin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I liked it. I really actually that was something I wanted to comment on is how well done these animations were considering when this was made. I think it still holds up remarkably well.
Yeah. This is I can totally see how this game would have been very bar raising for the time.
Yeah.
Nowadays, maybe not so much, but I don't think they did any mocap that I can tell for this.
No, and it looks the whole thing has this animated style to it that I really kind of dig on, especially like the wall running animations. They get wonderful gesture and just motion through it. It's great.
Yeah.
Sure, but you notice your first issue with his stylized fighting when you knock down two people in about a 3-foot radius of one another, and he has to throw in about 5 flips and twists in between stabbing each one.
Yeah. We're getting back to the kind of the antiquated mechanics. I was starting to go mad. Every time you clear a room, you have to wait for the little mini cutscene of him putting his sword away. I'm just like, I get it. You're a badass.
Well, the
Can we
amount of
please
times
move
they
on?
just grab the camera away from you, like when you're solving puzzles and stuff, just infuriates the crap out of me. It's stuff that most developers don't do nearly as much anymore.
Yeah. Well, back in that day, we had this game could have I could very easily have seen this game being one of those just fixed camera angle games, a la the original Resident Evil or Devil May Cry, because you could tell that they wanted to do that a few times. Like anytime you went through like an opening in a wall, immediately the camera just boom, is in front of you, and it's an analog game, so you're pushing forward. All of a sudden, you're pushing backward, and I constantly would do that and end up back in the room I was trying to come out of.
Yeah.
Well, they also gave you a first-person view, which to me seemed like an afterthought, and they're like, oh, maybe someone won't be able to figure this out without this option.
I never used that. I used it right at the end of the game because while I was reading up on it, apparently if you stare at Farah, there's a bunch of funny Easter eggs. So I did that. There's some great little one-liners, and that was about it. That was the only time I used the first-person view.
That's interesting. They kind of took that out of Halo, I think.
Or I mean, Warcraft. All the Blizzard games were like they always had the pissed lines when you click on units too many times.
Yeah, that was kind of a not terribly uncommon thing for like the third-person action type things. To just we'll give you a first-person view just because you guys will probably cry if we don't.
Yeah.
I remember a lot of my Xbox games having that.
Yeah. Zelda did the same stuff. Ocarina of Time and whatnot. You could snap into a little first-person view.
Yeah.
Which in that game was actually kind of helpful, especially for finding like hookshot points and whatnot. But didn't really need it in this game, so that was fun. Footage of the game was being developed, or footage of the game being developed was shot for the Discovery Channel series How It's Made. I want to know more about that little tidbit of information.
Finally, How It's Made that you want to watch.
Oh man, that show.
That's not Hockey Mask. It seems like they went to the hockey factory and filmed every damn thing that comes out of that place.
I hate that show so much. I can't stand it.
I actually really like it. I find
know.
it like an amazing screensaver, but
Mike and I have had this conversation so many times. Like, you're at a bar or something. It's like, you know what show I'd like How It's Made? And then I go, you know what show I can't stand? How It's Made.
if they just showed How It's Made at a bar, that would be great. Everybody getting drunk, watching pencils be made.
Whoa, man. Whoa. Calm down.
And someone just says, yeah, I could do that. And then hospital.
Yeah. The game was also very well received by critics. It scored high 9s across the board. It was voted Game of the Year by several institutions and later one of the greatest games of all time. However, it didn't sell very well. So poorly, in fact, that Ubisoft dropped the price to $15 for a new copy only a couple months after its release.
Yeah.
This is around the same time as Beyond Good and Evil, correct? Because they both suffered the same fate.
They both did, and at the time, I only had enough money for won. So I went with Beyond Good and Evil.
Okay, I think this was this was right around the time where I first started getting into game review stuff, and I think it was because whatever happened, I don't know if we switched TV providers or whatever, we got whatever G4 used to be, Tech TV or whatever it was, and X-Play was in its infancy. Started watching that show, and I distinctly remember hearing about this game. I think that's how I found out about it.
Yeah. Well, I remember just reading in magazines and stuff. Like, even all the editors and reviewers were like, "What is wrong with you people? Why aren't you buying these games? They're amazing." They got like almost perfect scores back in the day, and they sold like crap. I can't remember what was selling very well. Probably some horrible Sonic game. And so it was unfortunate as all hell.
Yeah, that's no good. And then of course the final trivia. Yes, this is the game that Disney movie was based off of. The movie's not terrible. Have you guys seen it?
I haven't.
It's not bad.
It's not wonderful. I feel it definitely. I don't feel like it captured a lot of what I loved about this game. But it also omitted a lot of what was very dumb about this game. So that didn't work and it wouldn't have worked in a movie setting. So.
Sure, and if you make it to the last third of the movie, you'll enjoy it because they do the big time reversal. Mm-hmm. But up to that, you're like, use the damn dagger, Gyllenhaal.
Yeah. And he honestly looks way more like the Warrior Within version of the Prince than the Sands of Time version of the Prince, which just makes me turn my head sideways because the PS3 version that I bought, it actually has all three of this generation's Prince of Persia, Sands of Time, Warrior Within, and the Two Thrones. So once I beat this, I'm like, I'm gonna launch Warrior Within because I actually beat that back in the day because I loved this game so much that I ignored everyone ripping on Warrior Within and I beat it. I beat the crap out of that game, and I remember liking the combat at the time, and not being as bothered by the terrible Godsmack music. But dear God, 5 seconds into this, the music starts up, and I'm just like, how did this not irritate the hell out of me? It's so bad.
Well, to be fair, we played Star Wars games that had the same soundtrack over 10 different games for 6 hours each.
I don't think I played those Star Wars games, but all right.
What? Shadow of the Empire? Rogue Squadron? I mean, every single Star Wars game had a Hoth level, and you had to do the legs.
But it's Star Wars. I don't care. All I want is...
I think our standards were lower, is what I'm saying. And that game had sexy ladies, I guess, at the time. I skipped it as well. I was spent on my Prince of Persia. It was an odd late-night rental. Picked it out, loved it, and didn't really investigate anything more until... what was the next one? Two Thrones?
No, the one after this was Warrior Within.
No. The one after Warrior
Two Thrones. It was
Two
Thrones, which I actually have never played, and I definitely am going to now that I own it, apparently.
Yeah, I played through all of that one.
Yeah. So it was Warrior Within, Two Thrones. Is that the one where he's like half blue, or is that Warrior Within?
No, that's Two Thrones. Two Thrones is basically Prince of Persia and God of War if they just kind of cut up it in pieces and slammed it all together.
Oh, okay.
So you have an alternate personality that is Kratos, and then you have the Prince, who's still your stealthy wall-running dude.
So you have a dick and a psychopath in the same body. That's great.
The Prince isn't a dick anymore! In number 2, he was a butt rock star. In number 3... I've heard wonderful things about Two Thrones, actually. Everyone I talk to who's played it says it's great and that I missed out. So I'm kind of anxious to get into that. Unfortunately, I also bought The Last of Us, and that game's taking away hours and hours of my life and much of my patience also, because I suck at that game. It is hard, and I'm bad at it.
Prince of Persia's game of patience. I mean, there's some odd things, such as the rewind time power. Clearly, Sands of Time, it's a big mechanic of the game, but it has some flaws. At times, it feels like it was put in after the fact because the combat would have been too hard, or these puzzles and the camera system didn't line up correctly.
I still want to go on record saying this is one of my favorite mechanics in any game ever.
Sure,
I think it's one of the most elegant ways to deal with death in a video game.
But there were times when you would kill one, the timer would reset that second, and you get hit in the back, and you were dead, no matter how much you rewound.
I remember having that issue when I originally played. I didn't have that issue this time around.
I did a little bit, but it's a very elegant way of doing like a do-it-yourself checkpoint system. Like they didn't have to worry about thinking like, okay, every time he jumps like 2 jumps, we have to give him a checkpoint, so when he dies, he doesn't rage quit, which is what you normally have nowadays. Mm-hmm. So it's a little bit more on you, and I think that's a very elegant way of putting that in the game. I do wish stuff like that was in more games. Not too many more, else I'd get really kind of pissed with it. The biggest problem I had was that it takes so damn long to redo this 10 seconds. It's like, watch it in slow motion. Here's where you screwed up. We're going to keep going back. Just like, okay, maybe twice the speed, come back, because I really don't want to have to spend an extra 15 seconds watching me screw up because I just watched it.
Yeah, or you didn't realize that you had 1 foot already on the wall, that you did the run up and then fell off backwards. And so you have to rewind. Oh, crap, rewind again.
Okay, yeah, this happens, but it's an older game.
Yeah, no, I agree that the system works really well. I hate it in a game where you're like, am I dying? Am I immortal? What's the story here? Okay, so in Legend of Zelda, I'm making it through on 1 life. When I die, I just kind of restart at a checkpoint. So I'm making, I'm kind of adding that extra bit for myself. But here, he's telling a story, and he goes, no, that's not how it happened. And you retry it.
He's got like Tourette's or something. And then I died. Wait, no.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know. I like it, and I would kill for a mechanic like this in a Zelda game. It just seems like something that Zelda should have had, and somehow Ubisoft beat it to them, and since it's Nintendo, they're not going to rip them off.
Sure, tons of games would benefit from some sort of mechanic like this. I mean, Bullet Time for Max Payne was barely even stepping on the toes of this, and that was awesome.
If Zelda can take a feature that is like this kind of poorly rendered beetle that all it does is fly at a very slow speed and make it really freaking fun, I'd like to see what it can do with something that's actually cool in concept.
I think there was some other Xbox game, like when they were still trying to come up with mascots, that Blinks the cat. It was like a time.
Oh god, yeah, you had like a time vacuum thing or whatever.
Yeah, I think that was somewhat similar.
I played all of that.
Yeah.
It was crap. Like, no, the concept was awesome. I mean, there was a record power, which was super cool, because then you could go run out, attack things, then it would rewind yourself, and you would have 2 of you, what you just did, and then what you're doing now, attacking the enemies. But ultimately, they went for kind of a Banjo-Kazooie-esque version where you had to, like, collect things before you went in the level. So you would spend 2 hours prepping for a 30-minute level, which you may or may not complete with all the coins and icons that you got along the way.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like fun. But anyways, let's talk the story, shall we?
Let's do it.
All right. Aladdin reference number 1. The game starts off with the prince running through the jungle. Not an Aladdin reference, but he's telling us this story. We're basically being told a story, and that's a setup for experiencing this game. Awesome, great, love it. Put more of this in games, damn it. Especially the tie-in with the ending, which I love, and we'll get to here in a bit. But yeah, so we were kind of ripping on the prince's dad. So us actually controlling the prince, it opens up with the siege of this unnamed city. Basically, the prince's dad is on his way to Azad, and it's like, oh, hey, there's a city here. Oh, their vizier wants to help us, sack the city. Why not?
It's like, a little more complicated.
He might as well have stopped at a Walmart and picked up an extra pack of batteries, because that seems like how nonchalantly he's like, I guess I'll sack a city on my way to Azad.
It's more like he stopped at a Walmart, murdered everyone inside, decided to take all the chips to his friend's house, and then what the heck? Because I'm merciful, I'll just sell all the hot chicks there into slavery. Kill all the uggos. We don't need the uggos. Just take the hot chicks for slaves.
Which apparently there are only 4 of. Tie them to a brick.
But the prince, he's a much better dude. All he did was run to the bakery section and take all the donuts. He did kill a couple of the bakers to get in there and get the donuts, but he only really wanted the donuts.
Oh, man. That's cool. Well, in his defense, they tried to kill him first. He was just trying to steal the Maharaja's greatest treasure.
Sure. Just, you guys are completely forgetting about the vizier, though, who was actually a vizier of this land, of India, in this kind of pit stop. And he was the one who seduced the passing army to come in and take the treasures.
At what point is that not a red flag? Like, I don't know you, you don't know me, you advise the Maharaja of this city, and you just randomly want me to take this city. I love it. I love this game. I love the story. I love how simple it is, but I just have to rip on it a little bit.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's just like, that's the narrative. Deal with it.
Pretty much. But I'm just sitting here thinking, like, how did the prince's father ever become king of anything? Like, he's gullible as hell.
Yep.
But yeah, like I said, the time period definitely lends itself to this way of thinking. Cities were sacked for fun.
Yep.
Not really just for fun, but just so you've got riches, I want those riches, I'm gonna sack the city.
Although I'd have to say, if I was the Sultan of Azad who you're going to visit, I'd be shitting bricks. like you did what? You just killed a
you just took an entire city.
You just massacred a whole other kingdom. Oh yeah, with that army you got right there inside my walls. Yeah.
You just took over a whole city to give me a gift.
Yeah.
They're besties.
Yeah, like...
Love you guys.
Whoa. Hold the phone there, buddy. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe this was commonplace at the time. Who knows? Maybe that's how Azad rolls. Like, the prince's dad's on his way. He's like, man, this guy is the hardest son of a bitch to please. You know what? You know what he won't turn down? The hourglass of time that I had to cut from the living hands of another Maharaja. Yeah, good stuff. So... that's interesting. You get an interesting little kind of tidbit of information on the prince right in the beginning. He doesn't seem to consider himself a warrior. He says that, blood on my sword is not how I'm going to bring my father glory.
Yeah, well, he's changing it up his father's plan, and when he takes over, he plans to be a much more peaceful king who marries whoever he wants and is still embedded in the customs of that time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, where'd you get that? You're reading way into that.
Yeah, does he ever
is that the instruction manual or something?
No. I mean, when it starts, the king is saying that this is his son's very first battle. He's talking about how he doesn't want to be remembered as a great warrior, more as a conqueror of, these other sort of great kingly deeds.
A peaceful conqueror?
Sure.
I killed all your soldiers, but I'd let the women be sold into slavery. Okay. But yeah, so he went straight for the treasure vault and finds himself the Dagger of Time. Which we immediately find out can rewind time because a giant chunk of the ceiling tries to fall on him, and he rewinds time. How did he not scream that at his father the second he showed him the Dad, watch this shit? Like,
he probably would have if the vizier wasn't over his shoulder, his eyes gleaming with tears that the dagger was before. I mean, that guy was totally creeping on him.
He's creeping on everybody.
Who would trust him?
Well, that and he's like, coughing and probably farting blood all the time.
Yeah,
that's never a trustworthy thing either.
Yeah. Which I like. This whole game has incredibly simple setup. And most of it I like. Obviously, I get a little hung up, like, who would trust this guy? But I like that they never really... the vizier never, sits there and has a James Bond villain moment where he goes through the entire reason he's stealing he wants the hourglass and the dagger. You just assume, he's dying. He probably wants to control time so he doesn't die.
Yeah.
Just kind of infer it. It's great.
In its own way, the setup is kind of like a Mario thing. You don't think about it. Go with it. Save that princess. Go.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like you said, we'll give this all kinds of crap just because it's fun. Yeah. And it's a good game, and it's always kind of fun to pick on the stuff that's in good games. If it's a horrible game, it's not that fun. It's like beating up a retard.
God. His words, not mine. Yeah, and it's also very fairy tale-esque. It reminds me of, any of the fairy tales we grew up on had very simple setups. It's like, there was a evil advisor who was dying. It just coughs, and that's it. So anyway, get to Azad. The vizier's like, "Hey, you should put the dagger in the thing," and you put the dagger in the thing, and zombies.
Well, not only that, he's like, "Hey, you want to see something really cool?"
Yeah.
I don't figure out how he's in charge of the zombies. Or maybe he's just really good at the creeper stuff where they just don't even know he's there.
Well, he knows the magic words. So he has, even when we go back in time to fight him before any of this happened, he was already sporting magical powers.
Right, exactly.
So-
He's basically a warlock. Like he knows the dark arts.
So
Okay.
the sand comes out and he immediately knows the magical words to say to have it avoid him.
Yeah. When you release the Sands of Time and turn everyone into the sand monsters, I was reading the Wikipedia article on this, and it says that the reason that the Prince, Farah, and the Vizier are the only three unaffected are because of the items that they have, which is Farah's necklace, the Vizier's staff, and of course the Dagger of Time, which the Prince has. Did it ever say that in the story or in the game?
Not once, although it would explain why she left her medallion in place of his swords.
Oh,
Or his dagger, you mean?
Yeah.
Which is
well,
that
both his stuff.
Okay. All right. I get
that
it.
does make some sense. I figured it was just because they were all locked in this thing together. I mean, we do have some holes in space-time that happen along with this. So you have the weird holes in the walls that lead to fountain drinking Healthland. And then you have Farah being really in love with you in the middle of this game for no apparent reason. A whole dimension where she makes love to you, and we don't know if that's real.
I want to go to the make love dimension, by the way. If I'm a Superman villain and I have to get banished to one of the nether regions, or nether zones, that's the dimension I want to get sent to.
And she knows not to put the dagger in the hole. She knows, to run away and all these different things that even when he shows up at the end, talking to her before any of this even happened, she's already in the know enough to know that's a magical dagger.
Well, that's because it's the treasure of her father.
She knows that, but she doesn't really act like any of the stuff he says is true. And you would think if this is a magical dagger and we have the hourglass of time in there and crazy crap can happen, they should probably give this guy the benefit of the doubt, and she's just really not having any of it.
I don't know. Her dad has this giant treasure vault. There's a guy who claims to have the biggest zoo in the universe, but all it has is birds in it. The whole place is pretty screwy, but you go through life and this is the greatest treasure and it's magical and sure, Dad, whatever. You say that about everything in your vault.
Right, but before when he originally goes to stab the hourglass, you could tell she's like, no, don't do this. This is before any of the time rift even happened. She has that knowledge. She's fully aware of what the
She seems
dagger
much smarter as a slave.
Yeah, when she's tied to the sexy woman pole, she knows exactly the powers that he's about to unleash.
I couldn't believe they didn't even give the sexy woman pole an umbrella. They were out there on the sexy woman pole cart in the middle of the damn desert, just cooking.
Budget, man, budget. They didn't have time to render a canopy for these ladies.
It was just a pit stop after all. They didn't know they were picking up ladies.
And
True.
they're traveling by montage.
Yeah, they had to share some seatbelts along the way.
Yeah, exactly. So, so let's talk about that. The mystical fountain areas, these kind of holes that seal up once you find the fountain, they're never really explained. So, Kyle, you're the tinfoil hat wearing bastard on the show. Do you have a hypothesis about any of that? Does your brain run away with any like, it must mean this?
Well, it must mean that we have a health mechanic. Same reason there's balls of sand around and why we don't just pick up some of the sand that, grab a bag, scoop up the sand and we'll make our own balls of sand and then I'll have all the sand. Like, it's just kind of happening. But like I said, I feel like it really moves into with her already being in love with you randomly in the middle of the game, petting your hair and call you her love before any of that transpired.
Well,
Stockholm syndrome.
well, the whole thing is you're supposed to be growing closer to each other through your adventure. I don't think it's as left field as you're making it sound. Because the prince is incredibly untrusting of her when they first meet. Right after you have to kill Zombie Dad, they team up, but he's like, I don't trust you. We kind of screwed you over. I'm aware of that, and you probably just want to stab me in the back at the first chance.
But the Sands of Time are an extremely mystical element, and they encase the entire world while they are out. There is nothing not affected by them. So when we fall into the tomb and we wander around in the darkness with her, we're not really even sure if that happens, if we actually get lost in that bathhouse where you have to listen for the splashes and go through the different doors and that puzzle before you finally actually get to the scene with her in the tub.
It took me way too long to figure that shit out, too.
No, it was hard.
Just walking around like, I don't get it. And then finally I was like, oh, wait, only one door makes a splash noise. I'm an idiot. Oh, that's so bad.
Well, and we're already putting aside, some of our reason here. The palace security system using giant glowing rods. I mean, come on.
He's got a Death Star reactor room in that place. He's got a lot of stuff.
I thought they were Protoss pylons from StarCraft.
And sure, I had seen, bad guys hit one another with their own swords, but never once in the entirety of that game did I see a sand monster walk into a spinning blade.
Yeah. Well, he even says, this was a bad idea. Sand monster's going to get cut.
Oh, yeah, when he's doing the inner monologue thing. Or it's like when you can hear the prince telling the story. He says, I've just turned on these contraptions which seem far more easy to claim my life than those of the monsters.
Yeah. And, that's kind of like, okay, who should you have been trusting there, guy? The random red shirt guard or the chick who obviously knows what she's talking about? I think that totally comes down to the misogyny thing. Instant respect for any guy that talks to him. He didn't even say, I don't know about this. Like when the guy was telling him to start it up, he just was like, okay, manual labor, here I go.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Yeah, he that was before he even met the princess to distrust her. So,
but the
room with the pylon starting up the traps is, I believe, just before you have to go fight your father in the throne room.
That was just before that, but that was right after you had actually met her the first time, and then you go meet her in the main room. But he was, every time that they met, he was totally just like, I don't like you, and I'm going to turn everything you say on you, and blah, blah, blah. And then she's totally just like, I love it when they're talking dirty to me. And she's always trying to, hand him an olive branch, and he just slaps it away and maybe pokes her with it a couple times. And then all of a sudden, she's just like, my love. And even when she says that, he looks up like, what? Raises the eyebrow like, what'd you say?
I don't get this. I felt like it was a lot more of a gradual, because when he starts talking to himself, he starts warming up to the princess.
After that, though, after she says my love, he's like, my love.
No.
Hey,
That's like
chance with this chick.
almost the damn tail end of the game.
Yeah.
I think we're reading into this differently.
No, he definitely is flirtatious with her. Talking about, oh, you went to those baths, and that was in the part where you fall into the water caves, and that's long before the tower with all the lights in the library, where he's actually confused about the my love thing going on. But they squeeze it in a few times, even before he actually notices on waking up that she said, my love. Mm-hmm. She said, well, see you soon, my love, when she goes through a crack hole.
A crack hole? Is that where crack addicts hang out?
That's her superpower.
Crack in the wall.
Well, no, sometimes they were holes, sometimes they were cracks in the wall.
You're absolutely right. I'm sorry. Okay.
I don't know, maybe it was kind of hard to hear what they were saying sometimes, but the only compliment I ever heard her give her was this weird little you're a skinny one, aren't you? Yeah, that's gonna go over real well with any girl I know.
Again, the time. And Ubisoft is obvious. This was very much used as satire. Because, I don't know. Because had it been up to Farah, this would have been not an issue.
Well, either way, she does take your weapons. So it was real in some way. But, what was that dimension?
I don't know.
I don't know. Like,
Right?
it
She's
seemed
like in
she
a
acted, she acted more like a regular woman in the end when she was just like, "What the hell?"
yeah, before the whole thing. And even then, like in Bath universe, she's like, it's so soft and like being a creepy. I mean, sensual, but creepy.
Well, I mean, every other time you've been in one of those weird ethereal zones with the fountains that give you more health, the prince didn't really have anyone else to talk to. Who knows? If anyone else had been there, he could have just been like, "It's so soft."
Right, and there's the time
I don't know. Maybe it's the mystical horny zone. You don't know.
Drink this water for hours. But like, there's like a whisper or something like after he drinks the water of life, blah blah blah. It's like says Dahlia or something like that. It would have like I almost would have expected it to be like that cockaloogie, whatever word that they say, but it's not. So I don't know who Dahlia is.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, her magic portaling opening word. That was used to great
Cockalugia.
effect. I really enjoyed it when he said it when she was like, come get me on the bed. He's like, cockaloogie.
Get me out of this load.
You're like, all right, opening magical portals. I get it. Well done.
Wait, is that how he escaped from his clothes? Make it.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, no, I mean, I just kind of chalk that up to being similar to the fountain areas. And other than that, I don't know. I like it. I like that there's just a bunch of crap that's not explained.
Well, hey, speaking of clothes, we wouldn't have one of the best features of Batman Arkham City without this video game. Battle damage.
Being getting tattered and beaten to hell as you progress through the game. It's a good point. I think that's the first game I can ever think of that this really happened, and I love it. It's badass.
Yeah, first you just lose your hat and then a sleeve, and until eventually you end up in the prison, you just take it all off.
Yep.
Like with the awesome guitar riffs, it's just like, all right, shirt's coming off.
You can tell someone loved that one scene. They're like, guys, can the next game be nothing but this?
Exactly. It was like Mad Max all of a sudden in my Arabic music.
Yeah, that's a good point. Oh, that prison. Yeah, what the hell? It took me out, man. Really took me out.
It would have been actually funny to see like one dude in the back of the prison as it's circling around just actually playing that guitar. He's just rocking in there.
But it's
no
super
reason.
racist, so it's just like a sitar.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, wonderful. Absolutely
But,
great.
it's time traveling. It could be like BioShock Infinite. This dude just got stuck there from the future because it's sands of time, right?
Mm-hmm. That's what's going on.
I want to talk a little bit more about the Prince's inner dialogue. First, let's roll a quick clip of that.
Oh, have you been waiting here all this time? I didn't realize you meant these baths. I went to the other baths, clear across the other side of the city. I had a lovely wash and a rub with fragrant oils. Too bad you weren't there. Stop talking to yourself!
I really dug these. They still make me giggle. I'm not sure why.
It's interesting to see the advancement of our platformers like this. I mean, Assassin's Creed, God of War games. The idea of a sound clip playing in the background to entertain you over a slightly slow bit is amazing and a huge step forward. Nowadays, this seems ridiculous when compared to, I have to walk across a single ledge. Why don't you show me the most interesting epic battle ever in the background? I mean, think of like a Drake's Fortune. I mean, you can't even climb a ladder with like a plane going down.
I guess it's a good. That's the first one. I actually have not played the first one, but yeah, the Uncharted series are they all. That's all it is. It's very simple climbing with the most intricate backgrounds ever. And that being said,
You made it sound like inner monologue is like reading a book to watching a movie in today's games.
Yes, sort of kind of is, but I don't know. I dig it. It really the whole feel like and theme of this game. I think they nailed it. This was a really cohesive thought. Everything fits, and I think this inner monologue just plays more into this slightly more mature Disney-esque fairy tale.
Mm.
They just nailed it. I don't know. I just freaking love this game.
Well, the guy
I
loses his father. It's a dark fantasy.
It is, yeah, but they don't do really anything with him losing his father. He kills his father, he says, that thing was not my father, and then you never talk about your dead jerk father for the rest of the game. And there's there's in my head, my criticizing old games head, two reasons for that. One, because he's telling you the story. He knows that everything gets fixed in the end, his father's not dead. Or two, he really is the dick that we think he is, and he's like, well, my father's dead, so if I make it out of this, I'm king! Yeah!
Well, not only that, like right after that, he's on, I'm taking one knee, it's been a hard fight, blah, blah, blah. And then Farah comes over, she's just like, I'm sorry. He's like, why the hell are you sorry? Because I know what it's like to lose a father. When you killed him and my entire people and enslaved us and did all these horrible things, he doesn't even think about that. He's just like, it wasn't my father. Screw you, I'm running. Like, doesn't even faze him for a second.
Well, honestly, if you just cut down your own dad, I think you'd have emotional tunnel vision as well.
I don't know. It would have given me a little perspective. Like, oh, yeah. Jeez, maybe we did some dickish stuff there.
Well, apparently, you just don't like your dad.
Not to mention every 20 minutes or so, you're going and
like
sniffing some sands and
That's-
passing out on the floor.
That's the thing. Like, if someone said, like, dude, now you know what I felt like when you murdered the shit out of my entire race, then I'd be like, oh, yeah, my bad. He doesn't even, like, not even for a split second is he just, like, comprehending the little bit of subtlety she's trying to do right there.
But I think that's just part of, again, that's sort of the times, or at least what we accept of medieval times. I'm a prince, you're a princess, I conquer, you got enslaved.
I don't know.
That's how it goes.
It's kind of like they just, like, even Disney when they did Aladdin, if you're going back to Aladdin, she's going to ream him out for something, and then he's going to be like, oh, yeah, my bad.
Let's be honest. Jasmine couldn't really get on Aladdin's case for much because he was kind of a hobo. Anytime my hands down my favorite Disney movie, but anytime Jasmine gets mad at Aladdin, I'm just like, you have no leg to stand on.
Yeah, but if he was like the prince, he would have been like, shut up, bitch, I'm Poe. You hear me? I'm Poe.
I live in a toilet.
Exactly. I don't have to take your shit.
Fair enough. All right. Anyways, how'd you guys think the puzzles hold up?
Pretty good. I mean, the drag the block on top of the switch, and we can talk all we want about justification of a whole house full of switches and even your harem full of puzzles to solve, but I mean that's the video game.
I don't know what is going down in Azad. That palace is massive, and the jail. Did anyone else notice that there was door after door after door with no flooring on the other side of the door?
Some very tall prisoners.
How do they get them in there?
Well, the Iron Maiden's all up on the walls, like they put people in them for storage or something.
Oh, we got overflow. Put him in the Maiden.
But for the most part, are those puzzles hold up? I mean, the one I got stuck the longest one and actually had to go to a guide online, ended up at IGN's old walkthroughs from the early 2000s.
Oh, wow.
But this was the one where she just took your weapons. You're about to get the most badass sword in the game, but you have to solve a puzzle and not just walk into those red circles and die instantly. And I thought you had to light up every single mirror on the wall. Instead, you just had to...
You just have to make a square.
Yeah, you just had to make a simple square and shoot it in the sun. But all those things lighting up on the walls, and you could get all but one of them to go. Yeah. I was going hard mode.
I was doing the same thing, and you pick your nose in this game, and they give you a little cutscene. But that one, once you complete the puzzle, they don't make any big deal about the fire disappearing. I had it apparently figured out for a while, and I'm just like moving shit around. I look over, and the fire's gone. I'm like, oh. Well, shit. I guess I'll walk over and pick up the most conveniently placed super sword in the history of anything.
Yep. Did it even have a name, or is this the Deus Ex Machina sword?
Pretty much, yeah.
It does seem a bit odd, but the game scales really well with the upgrades they give you. The first upgrade sword where you can hit through your walls, and the next one doing a bit more damage, and then finally one that's kind of combining both your sand-taking abilities and your smashing abilities. However, it was interesting that they chose to make it so that the sword did the damage. So while you were in some of those final fights, it was only when the sword hit that you killed someone. He would still be spinning around, and if you put your foot in someone's face, it would still do crap damage.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually a good point. I didn't even notice that. But yeah, it's fun. I was laughing so hard at that sword bit. I'm like, man, this is so convenient. This stuff would never fly in movies. Only in video games do we just accept this. Like, oh, it's a mechanic. It's fun.
Random best sword.
Yeah.
Right, and we can say things like, well, the sand knew it was going to happen, so it hid magical swords throughout the palace and transformed it, and then made it so things crumble right as he walks up to them. I mean, who
God,
knows?
I want to live inside your head. My brain didn't do that at all. It just went, this is convenient. And just wrote it off as it's video game logic. And that's one of the things that's very obviously missing from the movie. The movie version of this. There is no kill everything sword. Because it would be a terrible plot point.
No, but a fun action scene. He just pops people like balloons with that thing. Just,
Oh, yeah.
like,
Yeah, you just
one hit everybody.
If you land one hit, they're dead. As long
One
as they
hit
don't block.
walls, one hit the doors, one hit the people.
Yep. It's great.
Well, while we're on that subject, this game had a really great ramp up to the end as well, because you go the whole game, you have tons of sand. There were very few times I actually ran out of retries. Other than, what would happen when you would kill a guy and it would reset and you had nothing to rewind to, so you ended up just being dead. But they take away your dagger, and man, I remember every single second. I was traumatized. I'm still traumatized from playing this originally, because I remembered every second of this final bit, because your heart is just pounding in your chest. I mean, even going ladder to ladder when those sand bats come down, I'm like, don't you screw this up for me. I've made it so far. And of course, you hit the wrong button, you go jumping off into nothing, and you had to start all the way down at the bottom. At one point, you even had to start all the way before you got the super sword.
I can't say I guess I didn't die before then. Probably because I don't suck at video games. But it's yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that. It really the climax of this game it's great. You get this awesome sense of urgency, like. Because for me, I didn't feel that the relationship with Farah came out of nowhere. So I felt like going through this, like it was this building relationship. We've been through hell together. Now I liked having her around. Now she's gone. She has my dagger. I can't rewind time. I need to catch up with her because she's gonna die. I need to climb the tower again. Well, this time from the outside. I dug the hell out of it. It's a great ending to a video game.
And hey, while we're talking about it, 2003. This is a pretty good sidekick. She's not useless. She does stun a few people with her arrows, and I don't think she ever got killed in my game.
She got killed so many times in mine. She was such a
Oh,
freaking
really?
liability.
Yeah, and she managed to shoot me in the butt several times.
Yeah.
Although, because the prince was a dick, I didn't really seem to mind.
Like, I deserved it.
Yep.
I don't blame you. Yeah. She. I found her to be a big liability, especially if the combat was taking place in rooms that were actually big enough for the combat not to suck. If you went to a far corner of the room, she was just dead.
Oh, and the elevator. Holy crap.
Oh my God, the elevator. Yeah, can we talk about that real quick? Freaking old timey Aladdin-esque video game still has an elevator sequence.
Hell yeah, man, you gotta fight the Foot Clan.
Oh my God.
Yeah, the entire Foot Clan in one elevator. That was like a half an hour of don't die. Oh, you died.
I died so many times during that freaking encounter.
If you didn't die, Pharaoh died.
The superpower was cool when you unleashed all your sand and went around killing everyone. But there were times if I had one single point in the next level.
What? Where was this power?
Well, it was the power where you would teleport all around the room, killing everyone in a big burst.
What?
It's the super freeze that like only I think 5% of the people who ever played this game knew how to do.
I didn't know how to do that.
Oh.
What does it teach you how to do that?
It teaches you at one point. they actually show you a vision of it.
Okay, I think I
Of
vaguely
you
remember
using
the
it
vision,
in a flashback.
but I don't think they ever actually tell you how to do it.
No, I don't think they ever do tell you. They just kind of say like, "Say what you could do if you knew, but we're not going to tell you."
How do you do it? How do you activate it?
You have to hold down the button. So your slow down time, right? You use that power, or you'd make things
Right,
slow.
where you just tap it and
Yeah.
it just goes into slow motion. But you're also in slow motion, so it's pretty pointless.
Yeah, but it was good to play with the songs because you have become
I love that.
Fair enough.
But no, if you held with your shield up, so holding the special button.
Oh, so if you block.
Yeah, so if you block and then hold down the time power button, you would unleash it. But if you had a single an eighth of a bar going or something else, if you weren't completely full up on what you maximally could have as sand, it wouldn't work. So it wasn't easy to use.
Gotcha. Okay, so I didn't miss out. Yeah, for F that elevator sequence. The combat, I was. It's funny. I was impressed by how fun I was finding it, and then I would constantly keep going up to these walls where it's just like, holy shit! If you get hit once, it's just a dog pile.
Mm-hmm.
It was frustrating.
Well, and as you got later, they had sweep attacks that just knocked you off your feet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And their wind-up animation wasn't much different from their non-sweep attacks, so you didn't know when to get away and when to block. It's kind of got on my nerves a little bit. But once I got the hang of jumping off the walls, damn, combat got a lot easier.
Yeah, that's what you do. I could have sworn everything looked a lot more gruesome for the enemies, but that's because this came out in 2003. I was just playing Warcraft 3 Reigns of Chaos and Frozen Throne. That came out in 2003 as well. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, oh man, look at all these abominations. This is awesome. And when I'm playing it through, I'm like, I could have sworn they had like meat hooks or something.
Yeah, I distinctly remember them being more disturbing than they are now, and it had to have just been a product of when we played this originally.
Well, I don't know. I mean, they are kind of creepy looking with those glowing bellies and stuff.
No,
and
there's
half
like
the time, because of the weird, way everything's kind of getting pushed around during the fights, you're actually shoving that dagger right between their ass cheeks.
The sexy girl zombies? Yeah, every time you knocked her down. No, but the women zombies. Every time you knock them down, they always land on their stomach, and if you stab them, you always butt sex them to take the sand.
They didn't bother me as much as like the sex slaves hitting you with their leash chain.
Yeah, I love that.
The gimps.
O's and gimps, that was great.
Oh, yeah, that was funny.
That Sultan's into some weird stuff.
I don't think I ever got hit by one of the gimps. They creeped me out so much that I killed them first every time they showed up. I was just I don't like you.
Never trust a man to let it fall.
I could go through any fight without getting hit as long as I could run on top of them. But anyone dressed in blue, you couldn't do that to.
No, but that's where if you learn how to launch yourself off the wall correctly, damn, the game got a lot easier.
Oh, that's the only way to beat that final room with nothing but swordsmen.
Yeah, such a friggin' bitch. So let's talk about that final room, because that's a big plot point. Your love that I bought the romance and no one else did. She don't make it. I got a clip for that.
Farah, no!
That is either the dullest blade ever, or the prince really is a total badass.
Oh, he's bleeding a lot. I really like it. It's
I do too. It's awesome. It's very like kind of comic booky or something. Like when I think of Prince of Persia, this is the Sands of Time. This is the scene that pops immediately into my head.
Mm.
The dagger looks like it's kind of textured in a way. I'm sure you could get kind of a good grip without just having to do nothing but put the blade on your bones.
Yeah, well, let's be generous and say that Farah only weighs 110 pounds. That's 110 pounds of downwards force that you just grabbed in motion. That would just slice your hand. Come on.
Actually, I don't even think it would slice your hand because the blade gets narrower as it's going down. So it'd just be like, whoop, gone. Like there's really no way to grab something that shape while it's falling with weight on it.
Yeah, still badass. Doesn't matter.
And that's your science tips for the day.
It's a bit dull. I mean, you would run out of sand and go and try to stab a guy to do the freeze thing, and that would do nothing. You could just stab him in the stomach all day long.
Yeah, that tickles.
I think like all of his stuff was dull because the first thing he does when he grabs his sword is whack that crap on the ground. Like, I don't want it to be sharp.
You noticed that too? I thought about that as well. Like, you get something nice, like, hey, I'm going to go rub this on sand for a bit.
Yeah. I don't know. What you going to do?
And he's also like super smart. Like, I'm going to beat down stone walls with my sword. And it'd still be sharp. That's amazing.
Game mechanics.
I know.
Game mechanics. How else would you have
I'll tell you
them
the
knock down
story
walls in
of,
this
you
game?
know, when I was in college and I was sitting out there on the back porch in the dorm room, and my neighbors out there were all drunk, and one of them's like, "Dude, I hate my car so much," and they start beating the crap out of his own car, and then one of them goes and gets a sword.
A
He's
sword.
like, "Man, I got a sword. Let's hit the car with a sword."
You know it's art school when.
Yeah. So I hear this like, "Okay, man, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it." Boing. Oh man, I broke my sword. That's all I could think of every time he wanted to beat those walls down with his sword. Be like, dude, find a hammer or something.
That's great. Oh, that's
Find
wonderful.
another piece of brick.
Yeah. Kill one of the big hammer dudes. Take their hammer. There you go.
Yeah, they dissolved with him.
Well, they didn't introduce picking up weapons until Warrior Within, and that not worth it. So Farah dies. You scored a little tear, guys? Did you get sad?
No.
No, because there's time travel. You knew it was going to be fine.
No. It's just like that. She's crazy. She's got issues.
You've been defending her the entire show, and all of a sudden you're like, she's dead. Who cares?
I wasn't defending her. I was saying how crazy she was for like trying to actually be nice to him.
All right. Did anyone else immediately after this in the cutscene with the vizier, when the prince jumps up on top of the hourglass, think to themselves, why couldn't I have jumped up on top of the hourglass that easy when I had to do it?
And that fast.
Yeah, he jumps up some Jackie Chan style, up some poles, and is automatically there.
Yeah, like.
But, there's the judging of what is a deathly blow from what height in this game is off all the time. So anytime there was a cutscene where the floor broke, where I fell in a hole, I was just pissed in the first place because I'm like, you told me I couldn't go from like 2 stories up and now I'm falling and a rock hits me on the head.
Yeah. Not even on the head. He caught like that chest-sized piece of stone on the spine.
Yeah.
Like he was flat out. Bam! On the spine. That thing had to weigh as much as him.
He had chest armor. That's why you had to take off the chest armor afterwards. It broke the chest armor.
Sure. Whatever. He had a mithril shirt. Fine.
I'm assuming the first part that pisses you off, Kyle, is when he goes to down into the throne room to fight his father. When he just runs straight down the wall.
Oh, God,
something you
yes.
can't do in the game, and
Right.
that animation looks so weird. It's like his spine. He all of a sudden has ferret spine. He can just turn his body in any direction he sees fit. I think we're poking too much fun at this game because oh my God, I love this game, but yeah.
It's so easy to make fun of, even though it is a very good game, and I enjoyed it. And yeah, but there is so much weird stuff about it. It's like Prometheus.
Yeah, well, Prometheus is just straight up a bad story, but a beautiful movie. Oh, God, so disappointing.
Honestly, I don't think there's any video games out there that are flawless. Like, there's always going to be something hilarious about them that's just off.
Mm-hmm.
But I always wonder when I see those things that this is just the director of the video game grabbing the reins, being like, shut up. There's too many post-it notes on this wall. Just rips them all off. It's like, we're doing it my way. It's like, but no, we need to keep moving. I'm not paying you guys to debate this anymore.
We need them skinny dipping and having sex. I don't care how it gets done. Put them in a magic bathhouse. We don't care. All right.
Well, I mean, they could have just made it look like a Gary's Mod video, so he tries to jump off the balcony, ragdolls, hits the ground, and then it's like, I'm okay. Okay, let's do this.
I love those gifs, man. They're wonderful. So yeah, we finally get our redo button. We get to the top of the hourglass, stab it, and we're back in the jungle. But we have Prince has the dagger, man. And he starts running through. Oh my god! I just hit my loud, obnoxious keyboard. Start running through jungle, and this is when I go full circle, baby. This is the beginning of the game. Yes. And then you show up at the princess's bedroom, and it's like, oh my god, this is the menu from when you start the game. I geek out during this shit, man. I'm such a sucker for time travel stories.
Sure. Well, it's well done. It's the first video game to do it like this.
Yeah. Like I was trying to think of any other game that might have actually successfully pulled off a full circle thing like that, and I can't think of any before that.
Yeah. It's great. Love it. Wonderful. And I mean, not a whole lot else to say. That's kind of the big reveal, because then you have the boss fight against the Vizier, which is really just super lackluster.
I mean, it looks really cool. It's cool that you're fighting an illusion and he's doing the blocking in the background, but he's nothing too special.
Everything else that has happened during this game has been so epic and large in scale. I mean, you're running across the sides of walls as the castle crumbles beneath you, and the end of the game is a fight against an old man with tuberculosis.
Yeah, one at a time. Like, do it 3 times, blah blah blah, and it's not even really that engaging.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I would have expected him to be like, oh, here's all 3 of them, like at the very end or something, but nope. Mm-hmm. He just gets that one good. I mean, you stab him through a window, and he gets like one good shot on you with the staff. He just trips you, and then he starts talking smack, like I'm gonna blah blah blah, and then you just get up and slap him down, like he doesn't even fight back.
Yeah, that's good. I don't know. I would have liked some kind of integration with the acrobatics in this game for the final fight, because to me, that's what I love about Prince of Persia games is how you traverse the world.
Well, and they did that for 2 Thrones, and you fought the Vizier in that.
Oh, do you? What's that? Damn! Oh man, I need to go play that.
The ending, the final boss fight in that works exactly like you want, and it doesn't work out so hot. It's not the best thing ever. It's still gonna be kind of one of those. There's 3 things. There's 3 tasks you need to accomplish instead of just hitting him 3 times.
Okay. All right. Well, whatever.
I would have expected it to be, like that, where you have to dodge stuff, kind of like the GLaDOS fight, like in the original Portal. Like you're having to dodge stuff, and you have to like hit it in a certain area, and then you repeat it a couple times with certain things changing. This, not so much.
Yeah, I don't know. A lot of video games suffer from this. The lame ass final boss fight. The original Half-Life final boss fight is crap. Trying to think of one I like. I like the final boss fight in Ocarina of Time a lot.
How about the final boss fight in Halo 2?
Flaming pile of turd shit. If turds could shit, they would shit out the final boss fight of Halo 2.
Which one was that?
The only Halo with a boss fight.
Yeah, the monkey with a hammer.
Oh, right, okay.
It's just dumb. You finish out a Halo game as not Master Chief. Like, what the crap?
No, that was weird. We'll have to do that game at some point. But I feel like at least this was human. We had gone all the way back to the beginning. It could have been fantastical, but it just... I don't know. I feel like it would have been a lot like that ape fight if they really tried to drag it out at that point.
Yeah, well, I'm not... From like the story aspect and how they wrap up the whole game, it's wonderful. The ending is so great. The way they pull that full circle. And it's just like you're in the bedroom with the princess, and the game we've been playing is the story he was telling her.
Yeah,
that's great. And so,
honestly, I think the Vizier fight could have just been not done. Like they could have just been like, go get him, and then that's that. Like he foiled the guy without even having to fight him. It would just seem kind of tacked on.
Yeah, it could work. Like he just uses the it should just be a cutscene. He uses the dagger to get the better of him or something.
Yeah.
So, whatever the case, great end to a game. I love it. But yeah, then you get into the whole princess not believing your story, even though she completely understands what the dagger is. So I don't know.
Yeah. Like
Well-
you get the feeling like, oh, like he's even just like, man, I'm glad I'm out of here. Like all this slow like liking of her, and then it's just like, whoa, undo that, I'm out of here. Bye.
It would be supremely awkward, yes, to have a relationship with someone and then them not remember any of it. I mean,
Yeah, I don't, and it is. I don't think he completely blows her off, Mike, because he says Kakalukia at the end.
Yeah, but
It's-
that just
it's-
seemed kind of like a to you, like, well, yeah, it did happen. Bye. But like,
I liked it.
honestly, I was kind of expecting like if he kisses her and then it just does the whole like miracle memory kiss, go, and everybody's happy to happy.
Oh,
Or
but it was
at least
such
she's going to give him the benefit of the doubt.
I
and then they get all handsy.
that gag was worth it, though.
Yeah, that was like I did kind of snort when I saw that. But
Oh, when he kisses her, and then she's like, "Oh, get off me!" and he reverses time to before
Yep.
he kissed her.
This is why
Seems-
guys don't get time powers or invisibility.
he could have done that like 6 or 7 more times, depending on how many sand things you picked up during the game.
Well, maybe if I use a little more tongue, she'll like it. Maybe if I go in from the left instead of from the right.
Exactly.
Like-
You could have really experimented with this.
I don't know. I like the chat room says if you tied her to a pole, she would have been smarter.
Exactly.
Oh, it's terrible. It's so bad. But I don't know. I don't hate the way it ends. It's great. It's just, you know, I don't think they knew if they were going to make a sequel or not. It leaves it open. You can just assume that she heard the word. Now she's wondering, and maybe they'll get together. Like that's where I start going off in Kyle mode and filling in my own story. Because I haven't played Two Thrones, and I like to block out a lot of Warrior Within.
Sure, and Warrior Within starts out in its own plot as well. I mean, he's kind of being hunted down by death in that one. And then the third one...
It's supposed to be a direct... The reason he's being hunted down is because he unleashed the sands, and anyone who unleashes the sands must die.
Sure, and then the third one, he's infected by the sands. But, I mean, if we really wanted to have a straight sequel, he would go back home, and he'd go, "Father, no, we can't attack him." And he'd go, "But I've set this all up. What do you mean, son? We're taking it anyway." And you'd be stuck anyway, without the evil vizier this time, though. So, you know, it would just be a casual looting and sacking of the city without any of the monsters.
Well, he probably would never have sacked it without the vizier.
Yeah, I guess they did open the gate
That's
for him.
That's
so.
how he sacked the city. So
they moved on.
So you're saying the second game should have just been a dating sim. Where you're like, "Father, I really dig this one kingdom's princess. Can we chill? Can we
Right, and trying to
set
get
something
more
up?"
gifts for your dad's best friend.
So you go sack Azad and bring the gifts to unnamed city that the princess is in.
Honestly,
There you
Zod
go.
had more crap to take.
Prince of Persia, Sands of Crime.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
you
like in my
bastard.
mind, he totally did like come back and try to woo her at some point at a later date, despite whatever the heck happens in any sequels after that. But it did just seem very weird to me that he was willing to potentially die. When the vizier was saying, "I'll make you immortal," he's just like, "I don't wanna. I don't get my girlfriend. I'm gonna kill everybody." And then
Oh, you are
does that.
so downplaying how righteous he was.
Oh, he was righteous.
He had finally learned his lesson. He's just like, and live forever in a world where I am responsible for the death of everything I've ever loved. Come on, give him more credit.
Yeah, but then like after that, he's totally just like, whoa, bye. Like he totally skips out on her. I mean, yes, he runs up and tries to explain everything, but then when it just starts to not really go so well, he's out. And it basically like Austin Powers, like, wait a tick, I'm single again. Yes.
Kyle, I don't think Mike could ever write comics. Like ever.
Why is
Because he's just too literal of a son of a bitch. Like just no. Have some imagination.
I'd never get past the first frame. Be like, why'd they do this? I don't know. Why'd they do it? No. He just said hello. Why'd he say hello? Maybe he says hi.
All right. I
Punches
got you
his
there.
first crime fighter. Broken fist. Go to the hospital. Rest of the comics recovery.
Nobody can punch that hard. It's stupid. Stupid, stupid, stupid.
Yeah. So I don't know. All in all, would you guys? I mean, Mike, this is your first time ever really experiencing this game, right?
Yeah. Despite all the absolute horribleness of trying to play it on the PC version, still a very good game. Enjoyed it. I really like making fun of things, though. So people might think I didn't, but I did.
All right. Fair enough. And Kyle, you always like this. You cosplayed as the prince once, didn't you?
I did, from the newer game. I think it was right as it was coming out, so
The
no
one
one
with
realized
the-
what a...
The one with like the rainbow head thing.
It wasn't rainbow, it was red and blue. But yes, the little more outrageous, the cell-shaded prince.
Okay. Yeah. I did not like that game. It was
No, a lot of people
disappointing.
didn't. I didn't even like it that much, but, you know, it was very stylistic, and when it first came out, I was really excited. I mean, this is one of the big games that I would say established me as a gamer my whole life. I mean, this is my preferred means of media consumption. If someone says, you want to go to a movie or play a game, I'm going to play a game the rest of my life.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll give you that. I think I'd agree with that. This was definitely a big one for me as well.
I do want to take one quick little second to point out another piece of trivia. The Vizier, in the very limited role that he had, was played by Barry Dennen, who was the Chamberlain from The Dark Crystal, and that is badass. Like, I wish he still sounded like the Chamberlain, that whole, like, really high-pitched, weaselly-sounding dude, instead of just kind of like the gravelly guy that he was playing there. That would have been awesome.
Wait, was he the
Yeah, he was
one?
the...
Wow.
Yeah, the Chamberlain just makes that movie back then.
Still never seen it.
Oh, you're missing out.
Hey, we were even hearing Yuri Lowenthal? Lowenthal. He was in Bioshock Infinite. Side role, but hey, we're seeing him a couple weeks in a row.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? Okay. Oh, crazy. Yeah. Farah was Joanna Wassick, which you said is like the only thing she's really done.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, okay. Crazy.
Yeah.
I think when we were doing Bioshock Infinite, someone said that Elizabeth's voice actress isn't particularly busy. She actually is. Like, I was checking at her IMDb the other day.
She
Well,
gets
she's
not
very
much stuff.
new.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's new, but she's done a bunch of stuff before Infinite.
But she's done like a lot of really small parts
Yeah.
when I was looking her up, but this is like her first major named role.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So, anyways, I think that more or less wraps it up. Any closing thoughts?
I like it.
Banish me to the get laid zone?
Okay, you're at the bottom of a well, back in the olden days, and this very smoking hot naked chick is writhing around in a pool of mysterious golden fluid. What do you do?
If it was as inviting looking as that particular golden fluid, wouldn't bat an eye, because it's magic.
I would take off my pants, though. He removed his weapons, yes, but left on the pants.
Well, I had no interest in seeing Prince junk, so yeah.
Well, maybe he tried that first, but then rewound. Not quite as
Oh, that'd be great.
When she
Pants
laughs.
drop. Ha ha!
Oh,
Wind it
yeah,
back.
baby.
Wind it back. I was in a pool.
Boots off, pants off, stuck in socks. Rewind time.
I'm just going to assume that the whole thing only took about 10 seconds so that she grabbed the dagger and rewound everything, and she doesn't have to feel bad in the morning.
That's terrible. I like time travel, so I don't have to do the walk of shame. Awesome. Wonderful. And on that note, we will end this week's episode. If you're a podcast listener and you want to help the show out, please leave us a review in the iTunes store. It's the best way to help out the show for free. The Campaign Roundtable is a production of amove.tv. amove.tv/Campaign Roundtable is our site. You can subscribe to the show on iTunes, or you can catch the VODs on youtube.com/StarcastShow. Show. And you can catch us live every Tuesday night at 6 p.m. Eastern on amove.tv/live. Next week, we will be doing Dear Esther. It's installed, haven't even touched it. Kind of curious. and I kind of want to choke you both out and say, damn it, no, we're doing The Last of Us, because I'm going to play that game regardless of what game we're doing on the show, and I can't wait to talk about it. So there is that. Email us at campaignroundtable@gmail.com. You can send in any questions, comments, or MP3 or video attachments you'd like to join in on the conversation. And follow us on Twitter at CRT Show. You can follow me at Garrett Art, Kyle at Kyle Ferguson, Mike at MSD Artist. And you can check out nomoonart.com for my graphic design work if you need a freelance artist. Kyle, where can people find you?
You can also find me at Biggest Fan Podcast, where this week is Arrested Development Week.
Yes.
Yeah, that's going tomorrow.
It's a happy week.
I had to not sing the final countdown. I had to give you a break. I've been doing it for weeks.
You know, just about everyone sings that when you bring up Arrested Development. It's interesting how there's so many characters in it, but lots of people gravitate to him.
Because he's the best one. And also the actual theme to Arrested Development is not very hummable. It's very ding 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 ding. It's not. Yeah, it's not hummable. It doesn't stick in the brain as much. So there's that. Love that show so much. So freaking much. Have you finished the 4th season?
No, I sat down for it last night. I got a first episode.
Oh, okay. I killed it so fast because I was so excited for it. I'm not sure like how into it you are. So, anyways, check out our sponsors, Doghouse Systems. Go to doghousesystems.com and use our code CRT. It'll get you double memory for free on your next Doghouse Systems gaming rig. I play all of my games except for the Prince of Persia because it didn't play worth a damn because it's too old. But anything that's actually current and looks pretty runs great on my Doghouse Systems, so go check them out, doghousesystems.com. We thank them for their support, and we will see you next week once we escape from the zone of infinite pleasures. See you then.
Take care.